I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about yourself so we get to know you a bit better.
Okay. From the age of 15 years when I left school, I went into the construction works and renovations, and I think that before then, even when I was 10 or 11 years old and on a bicycle cycling around, I would see lovely old houses, completely derelict, and at this time the war had finished in 46, the year I was born, and obviously because of necessity they were building houses with cheap materials, and they were horrible houses in England, many of these cheap, and I could not understand why they didn't repair these lovely timber framed houses. And I think this is where my passion for the old buildings first started. I did quite a lot of barn conversions in England. I had a few awards from the heritage people. At the same time, I used to do motor racing in England. And a friend of mine, we came to Villarreal. It was the first time I came to Portugal. I was about 21, 22 years old. And I just fell in love with the country. And I said one day, I'm going back to Portugal. I'm going back. But then the years carried on and the motor racing stopped and my work became more intense. I got married, had 4 children.
Wow.
And eventually, by the time I reached maybe 40 years, I sold a part of the business and decided to take a 6-week holiday and go back to Portugal. And at this time the campsites were very few and far between, and the girl I spoke to said, oh, I come from a town called Fundão. I pulled in the camping and I stayed the 6 weeks and never moved. I made very good friends with one Portuguese man, and at this time the convent was still in quite good condition. It still had the roof on the church and it was frescoed. All the ceiling was still in Madeira and with frescoes on, but beginning to come down. And I spoke to my friend who owns the convent, and it was owned by the campsite. The following year I started negotiating to buy the convent. It took 3 years of negotiating with the camping to get an agreement. By then everything had completely collapsed, everything. And anyway, I got the convent.
What has the process of reconstruction been like?
I employed an architect from Lisbon, and we actually got grants as well. And I got a £1 million grant, which was a massive help. I was put into a court process because a politician's mother in Lisbon objected to my grant, saying that I had got it through corrupt means. My lawyer said, don't do any work, you mustn't do anything. My economist said, you must begin the work immediately because you have to do the work within 2 years or you lose the grants. In England, we do what the lawyers say. On reflection now, I should have begun. Anyway, it took 2 years for the court case. The judge said, no, this man has done nothing wrong, but it was too late because the time of the grants had finished. I got completely hit in the recession in England. 2 years, couldn't sell anything, and the banks came down and foreclosed. And I lost my house, the business, my house, followed by the wife, all within 1 year. And I thought, and I thought, Jesus, this is like when I left school when I was 15 years old. I left school with nothing, and here I am, I'm back again with nothing. But anyway. And Another couple of years went by, and a man who I knew was asking about the convent. And he said, "Can I come and have a look?" I said, "Yes, certainly, of course you can." And as he spoke, I said, "Well, are you an architect then, Rui?" And he said, "Am I an architect?" He said, "I'm the director of architecture at the Porto University." I said, "Oh, I didn't realise that." And he said, "Yes," he said, "you know, if you want," he said, "I could get this project for you." And it started from there. And he employed a big team, and one of his team was an Italian architect, a woman, that was his lover. And everything was going quite well until she found out that he had a lot of other lovers. And at this point the project had almost finished, well, it had finished, but she refused to put her name on anything and said, "No, I lose 32,000 euros, no project." And at this point I just sat back and thought, oh, I'm going to just stop now, not do anything else. Now I'm talking with the camera. Maybe something will happen, I don't know, to preserve it as a monument, which is what I hope.
Can you tell us a little bit why this place is so special?
Because it was the first and the largest of the monasteries built in the Bura-Baxter region. It had 22 priests as against 11 in Corvière and 7 in Belmont. There's reference to fruit and vegetables in the History Museum, Maritime Museum in Lisbon that came from Fundão at the time when this was in full operation. And it had to be from here because this was a little village which was basically being run by the monks, the priests. And I think this is, there's reference also from the king in different aspects. There was a dispute over the wall on the outside, which the king had to resolve. Famous poets are supposed to have been here in the past. Was in operation. It had a library of 10,000 books. And
that's impressive.
That is impressive, yes. And it had, it was closed in 1920, I believe. And a caretaker lived here till 1950, and it was after he died in 1950 that the Vandals came and the 10,000 books went along with the altar, and everything else was, it was just completely vandalised and everything stolen. The altar was stolen, and it's in a village about 20 or 30 kilometres away. I've never seen it. I've been to the village a couple of times, but there's been nobody around to show me in the church, but one day I'll see it. The bell tower here, the bell was stolen by the camera. It's now on the cameras building. Whenever I'm in the office there and I hear ding dong, I say, "That's my bell." I want my bell back one day, please.
To me, you do seem a bit of a Don Quixote, fighting windmills and trying to remain true to your passion. So, now, if you look back, was it worth it, or is it worth it just to fight for this dream?
So long as I don't. For me, yes, it's been definitely worth it, because if I hadn't have bought this convent, it wouldn't be standing now. There's no doubt about that, because 12 years ago there was big attacks in the Journal of Fundão against me nearly every week, big attacks. Completely illegal. They put my name, full name, my passport number, and this man, blah, 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 blah. And there was many local developers who wanted to buy this. At the time in Portugal was suddenly with a boom, put a bulldozer through it and build apartments, because it was the best place in Portugal, the best place in Fundão. So no, in answer to your question, I don't regret anything, because I feel quite proud in a way that I have actually saved this convent. Now there's another problem with finances, which maybe they'll end up taking the convent. I certainly hope not. And if that happens, then I'll feel very sad. But wait and see. We'll see about that. We'll leave that one for another week or two. Which I think is unjustified by the finances, considering that, you know, I have tried to preserve a Portuguese monument, and instead of penalising me, I think that somebody somewhere should have been giving me some assistance and helping. That's all I can really say on that. It's, you know.
What do you want? What do you want for this place in the future?
What I would like to see is the camera slowly try to start to rebuild as original. That's what I'd like to see. And it'd give me great pleasure to see that, yeah. And to let the people come in, you know. If people ask me if they can come and have a walk round, I'm very happy to show them and tell them what I know.
Bernard, this has been your life's project. So how do you see yourself still being a part of this? If you reach an agreement with the Camera and the financial situation is sorted out, how do you see yourself in the future still being a part of this?
It is a case that I do want to stay here, and I still want to be involved. And the Camera have said they want me to stay and be involved. So, you know, it's just an arrangement which is good for the Camera and good for me, because I stay here and stay involved. So, yeah, I mean, I've given certainly more than a third of my life to this convent, and you know, we have to be realistic. We don't live forever, and I would like to see something happen here which it needs. You know, I feel very sad that I'm now not in a position anymore to do what I was hoping to do, and it would be nice to actually see something happen to start to let it live again, which would be lovely. And if I'm living in the little house at the top and can be involved in any way, shape, form, I'd be very pleased. Yeah.
There's a hole here.
Yeah. Now, I think that was put there like that for them to put the wine, to keep it somewhere cool and... Yep, I'd be very happy living here.